Hello, welcome to this month's Deal Clinic Live. Can I just say, I cannot believe we're in March. We're in end of quarter three, so end of quarter one, we're in the third month already, can't believe it. So welcome to all our investors who are joining us currently as we speak. I can see, let me see if, oh Lord, I do apologise. We have had a few technical issues. We've got investors joining us now as I speak. So welcome Julie and welcome Vicky. So far, so good. So welcome to this month's Deal Clinic Live. Also to those who will be watching the replay. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk if you are watching them on the replay. If you are watching those on the replay and you contact any of the presenters that are here today, please do use hashtag DCL replay. That's Deal Clinic Live replay. So DCL replay. If you are one of the investors live with us now, if you do reach out to them, please just use hashtag DCL, which is Deal Clinic Live. There will be snippets going out to our other platforms such as Facebook and YouTube. And for those that you have, for those of you, I do need to have a coffee. For those of you that have registered for the live already, you will receive a full recording for the replay so that you can watch at your own convenience. I do encourage interaction. It does help to build rapport and it actually allows you to understand more about the deal that is there on the day. Any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat box or the Q&A, and I'll be reading those at relevant times and presenting those to each of our presenters. Again, if you're watching on the replay, just send in the questions to admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk and we will forward those on. Or alternatively, you can register to the platform at sourcinginvestments.co.uk/investor-registration and contact the presenter yourself. So without further ado, today's panel, we have Dean Parata of Parata Property, and we also have Robin Martin of The Mortgage Tailor. So I will give you a brief intro on Dean. We'll be speaking with Dean first. He'll be presenting a couple of deals and run through those for you to view, and any questions, please feel free to ask. So Parata Property are a UK-based sourcing agency and property management company. Now they do specialise in Greater Manchester and Liverpool. They also look after other locations as well. So if you see something you like, or you like the yields that Parata Property can provide for you, please reach out to Dean and see if there are other locations that he'll be able to help and support you with. Local services provided include surveys, solicitors and architectural drawings as well. So definitely a well-rounded company. Average yields can reach 13.9% and average prices usually sit around the £100,000 mark. Obviously they're fully compliant and they work with various strategies. So I'm just going to play you a short video bio of Dean and Parata Property. Bear with me while I sort out the tech here to get this sorted for you. Okay, and I'm going to have to take out my headphones. 1 second.
Hey everyone, glad you could join. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Dean Parata. I am the founder and the director of Parata Property. Parata Property is a UK-based sourcing and project management company. We have two parts of the business. The first part is our sourcing side of the business. We source properties all over the UK, various strategies. We do HMOs, BRRs, buy-to-lets, commercial developments as well, all across the UK. The main area we source in is Manchester, Greater Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, although we do also source in other areas across the UK as long as the deal is good. Now that's the first part of our business. The second part of our business is our project management, which we call our hands-off service. So as you know yourself, a lot of you investors are busy, whether you live in overseas countries or you live in busy cities with important and busy jobs, you want to outsource the actual project management of your investment over to someone that you can trust and that you trust to take care of that in a way that is going to be hands off. And that's what we do. So we look after absolutely everything from surveys, solicitors, planning if we need planning, architectural drawings, all the way through to the actual refurb and project management of the property if that needs to be done as well, and all the way through to tenancy so we can actually get tenants in that property. That's called our hands-off service, and we do that as well as a part of our business. Anyway, guys, I won't bore you too long with all the information about what we do. Here are some clips to show you actually what we do, and hopefully in the future we can work together. Welcome, guys, to another video. My name is Dean Parada of Parada Property in partnership with Sam Oliver Estate Agencies. We're done. Another property in Manchester. This is my favourite room by far. This is a master bedroom. It was a master before we converted it to an HMO. It's still a master now. The exciting things about HMOs, as I said earlier, is you get 5 sets of rent rather than 4. Granted, you do have to pay bills, but you're looking for these type of rooms budgeted around $430 per month. You like to be conservative about prices. You're looking at around 500 plus for a room of this size. For most of the rooms in the house, actually.
Okay, so there you have it. Brief intro of about Dean and Parata Properties. Dean, I'd like to hand over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's always hard. Oh, that's echoing, I think. Yeah, gotta mute that. Robin, yeah, that's on. It's always hard watching yourself back, isn't it? Hear yourself talk about yourself, but it's got to be done. So, guys, I'm just going to share my screen now, and I'm going to run through. There's probably been enough said about myself, so I'm going to jump straight into the actual slideshow of what we do, how we operate as a business. As Bonnie said from the start, it's very interactive. So if you have questions, if you want to pull me up and ask about certain aspects of what I'm talking about, feel free to do that. Put the question in the chat box and we can answer that as we go. I can see there is Julie and Vicky. Thank you for joining. So yeah, Julie and Vicky, feel free to ask as we go along. But pretty much what we do at Parada Property is handle everything from the start of the project, actually sourcing the property, all the way through refurbs, architects, surveys, everything that needs to be done, problem solving, to actual tenancy of the property as well. We're partnered with a letting agent to actually tenant the property out. So that's our services. We cover it from the start to finish. There are 2 services, as we said before. Sourcing, should you wish to only take up the deals that we offer, absolutely fine. You can do that. We shake hands. We make sure that there's support throughout that, but that's your property to do with what you want. If you don't have the time to do that, or maybe you're busy or whatever else it is, then we can handle the hands-off service, which is project management and all those types of things that come with it. It's not easy, guys, buying property and doing a project in the UK, especially in the current climate where builders are literally walking off job sites to go get more money and materials are going up by the day. You have to have people in your corner that know what they're doing, and that's us. Been doing it for a long time. So a little bit about us, about me. I'm Australian, living in the UK. Love travel, as you can see me and my wife with the background there, a rugby player, and I am a founder of Parada Property. Been in property for over 2 years now. We have absolutely fallen in love with property, mainly because of the gains you can make compared to working a 9 to 5 or other types of investments, and because of the security that you have in property. This is, again, a little bit about the service that we provide, full service for the investor, which we've already spoken about. A couple of our happy investors down there in the right-hand corner. They're Hong Kong-based investors that we sourced a 5-bedroom HMO in Warrington for, and that was just as the project was completing. They actually flew over to see the project, so we handled the whole thing while they were over in Hong Kong. What is our hands-off service? A little bit more detail about that. What does that actually entail? So in short, it's everything, but to list it, it's access to our national power team, that's surveyors and solicitors, architectural drawers, planning consultants, builders to do the refurb and project management, licensing. There's a lot of litigation at times that you need to go through, a lot of red tape with HMOs and licensing, different areas and zonings and things like that you have to be aware of. We take care of that. Furnishing the property, making it look pretty for tenants, and tenant compliance vetting and actually filling it for you. On that last bit there, guys, we have as well a lot of options for corporate leases that we have, where we will hand the we will hand the property over once it's fully refurbished to a company on fixed leases. They're things we can talk about more in the future, but we have access to options like that as well. Our projects so far, we've done over 6 million in client transactions. So that's property purchases in the UK. That's in the last 2 years. Well, probably closer to 18 months. 20 HMO conversions either completed or underway. We don't just do HMOs, although that is one of the big strategies we focus on because of the cash flow that they produce. We've done commercial to residential projects, and there's more and more projects coming. I'm sure Bonnie will share links and stuff like that in the notes, and so you can actually see some of the stuff we're working on. An example of some of the deals that we've done: Wheatfield Street. Again, I'm going to try and get through this as quick as I can, but if I'm talking too fast, just let me know. So Wheatfield Street is an example of a deal we've done. It's a 5-bedroom HMO in Bolton, Manchester, Greater Manchester. We'll talk about Bolton in a second, but a really, really good area that we love. The purchase on this one was 115,000. You wouldn't get a close to a studio apartment in the outskirts of London for that, but we purchased a house for 115,000. The refurb on this was 40,000 to convert it to a 5-bedroom HMO. The refinance on this one is 160,000. They're comparables in the area, what we're conservatively looking to achieve. And the ROI was 34%. The cash flow there is 26,438. Now you can see me with Terry. He's another Hong Kong-based investor that purchased this deal. And that's on the day that he came to inspect the property as well and see it for himself when it was fully completed. This property is fully let out. All 5 rooms are let out for between 450 to 550 per room. So Terry's quite happy with this one. Now I've got a link down the bottom here. I'm not going to play that because that Bonnie just played bits and pieces of some of the projects we've done, but that's a link to show the actual conversion of the property, what we do, what it looks like. So maybe Bonnie, you can chuck that one in the notes, or I think they might actually have access to that on the landing page. But this is one of the deals. Another one of the deals, again, we're in Bolton. This was a 5-bedroom HMO as well. Purchase 130, refurb 60. Guys, refurb prices, materials, labor have gone up in the last 2 years a lot. So you got to be aware of knowing what the actual rates are on the market and having builders and trades that you can trust to give you accurate quotes. So the refurb was 60,000, refinance 160, 26% return on investment. That's because this one we got on a fixed corporate lease for 3 years. What that means with the company that we work with is the fixed lease. There's no voids. You don't pay any council tax. You don't pay any bills, and everything is covered. Every room is purchased. Every room is filled at market rent over a 3-year on a 3-year lease. So these type of opportunities are available. They're out there. We have access to these type of contacts where your return on investment and your cash flow just shoots through the roof. Again, there's a link there for that project so you can actually see the start to finish. Last little project before we actually jump into the deals that we've got is another one that was in Bolton. They seem to all be in Bolton. We work across the whole of the UK, but these ones are all in Bolton, the juicy deals. This was Top Street. This is one we actually took on ourselves at Parada Property internally because of the actual gains on this one. So the purchase was 115,000. This is for a 6-bedroom HMO. The refurb on this one, 60,000. The refinance on this one, based on a valuation that was done through fully qualified surveyors and approved by mortgage companies as well to get the refinance on this when the refurb is done, is £255,000. So we've more than doubled the price on this property. The return on investment is 54%. Your cash flow is 26,775. Now I've done a floor plan there, drawings, not to be boring and just to put a floor plan there, but so you can actually see what we look for when we source deals. There's a lot that goes into sourcing deals. You need to know the area. You need to know, is there actual demand in this area for rooms? If there's demand for the rooms, what spec do we need to be aiming for? How big do the rooms need to be? Are we going to put in en suites? Okay, how are we going to do the en suites? Where are they going to run? Are they going to work in with the existing pipe work? Do we have to knock through structural walls? Are we able to do that? Is it a leasehold? Is it a freehold? We can go on, but we do all of that for you. And this property here, you can see it had a double extension. You've got the existing floor plan on the top there. And what we've done is converted it to a 6-bedroom HMO down the bottom here. You can see how we've utilized the space. These are the type of opportunities we go for in order to maximize our return on the property. So you can see 54% return on investment is not bad. So we are going to jump in to the deals that we've got. So first, we are in Wigan. Now, Wigan's another area in Greater Manchester. Why Wigan? Why are we sourcing in Wigan? So we need to know exactly why we're in the areas. What are they doing? What's the investment going in? What does this look like long term? Now, we stack up our deals so they cash flow. The deal needs to cash flow. Anything after cash flow is a bonus, but you also want to be in an area that has investment, money, attention going into it. So over time, the capital appreciation of your property is going to increase. So Wigan is one of these areas. There's 4.83% price growth in the last 12 months. You've got $6 billion worth of expected investment by 2024. It's the biggest population outside of Manchester. Manchester's biggest population in Greater Manchester. It's also situated really nicely between Manchester and Liverpool, and it's really, really exceptionally cheap to get into, as you will see. So this is a 4-bedroom HMO that we have sourced that is available at the moment. It is a 4-bed in Wigan. The purchase price is £68,000. Now I put approximately there. The reason is because this is an auction property, but the agents and the contact I have said they are willing to take pre-auction offers on this property. So we should be aiming around that, possibly even lower. The refinance on this is going to be $100,000. The refurb is $59,175 to do a full complete overhaul of the property with contingency included in there and absolutely everything we can see. The yield's 28, the ROI is going to be 21, and the cash flow is 14,684. Now, this is one of the properties that we would very, very much hand over straight away to the company we're associated with in order to get it on a fixed lease. They have great demand for rooms in this area and are screaming out for properties and HMOs. Now, a little bit about the property. It's a 4-bedroom HMO in Wigan, huge returns. Obviously, I just explained the auction situation. Option of a pre-purchase survey, which I would always recommend getting done. You want to know exactly what you're buying, so you're not buying blind. So you're not buying a property and you figure out it needs a new roof or it needs underpinning or it's about to fall down, whatever it is, you need to know. So there's the option to do that. Easy access into Wigan Town Centre. It's literally a 5, maybe 10-minute walk into Wigan Town Centre. And then to get into Manchester City is extremely easy. Now, these are the numbers on it. Rough numbers. We've stacked it up at 70,000, your refurb. All your expenses, guys, we include, they're broken down on the Sourcing Investments platform on the webpage, on the landing page. You can see those. We try and include absolutely everything in that we can, that we know of. So these are what you're looking at here. Again, we can give you access to these after, so you can see all the figures broken down and your numbers here. So you're looking at an annual profit down the bottom of 14,682. That's after all your expenses are paid, your management fees, your maintenance, putting 10% aside each month, all your all your costs that you can foresee have been included in this, and a return on investment of 21.16%. And this is the area, just a circle map of Wigan there. Cool. Liverpool. We are in Liverpool. Bonnie, how long have we got until my first part?
Thank you for that. So I just wanted to double check, just to point out to the ladies that property, am I correct in saying, hasn't been uploaded yet? So that's good. That's actually quite exclusive at the moment. That hasn't been uploaded to SI Portal.
Spring Street, I don't think it has yet.
Yeah, because I've just gone through your landing page prior to the Deal Clinic Live. So that's not uploaded yet, ladies. So I have put in Dean's URL so that you can contact him via the platform if you have any questions and start a conversation with Dean that way. You're fine for the moment, Dean, with time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get through another deal here. And we are looking at Liverpool. Now, Liverpool is a great area if you have your feet on the ground. If you're in the loop in the UK property market, you will know that Liverpool has a lot going for it. So the three biggest cities, the three biggest growth cities in 2021, number 3 was very close between Leeds and Birmingham. Number 2 was Manchester. Number 1 was Liverpool. 10.8%, I think, off the top of my head, growth in 2021 alone. Granted, the entry point is really low. The starting point baseline is really low, but the growth in Liverpool is exceptional. And it's a really, really good area to get into now. There's regeneration going on across the whole city. There's a bunch of multinational investment going on. Student population of over 58,000, a lot of universities. There is 52,300 businesses across the city, and you can get in really low at this point in time. Now, this is also a HMO. It's a 5-bedroom HMO in Liverpool. The purchase price, we're looking at 108,000. The refinance is 135,000, which I'm gonna just talk on those refinances in a second. But conservatively on a bricks and mortar, it's 135,000. The refurb, a very extensive refurb. Again, we try and include absolutely everything we can in there to do a high spec job so that everything is covered, is 70,000. Your yield is 22. Your return on investment is 12. Your cash flow is just over 11,000. Now, 2 points I just want to touch on. The first one is a refinance. When it comes to HMOs, you are often going to be, not often, but at times you will be in negative equity because the bank won't value the HMO as a 5-bed based on the cash flow it produces. It will value the HMO based on a bricks and mortar valuation. However, should anyone wish to sell a 5-bedroom high-spec HMO in the centre of Liverpool that's producing over £11,000 per year, it is obviously not going to be sold for what the bricks and mortar valuation of that property is. It's never the case. It will be, this alone would be sold for over 200,000 because it is a cash producing asset. However, another thing to note, based on the refinance of property, there is, and Robin might be able to touch on this a little bit later, but you are able to access from 5 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms. You are at times able to access commercial or somewhat semi-commercial valuations on these types of properties. So because the bricks and mortar, a 2-bedroom terrace, as they might compare it to a property down the road, might be 135 or 140, it doesn't mean that this one will be that. We do like to be conservative and give you the lowest figures so that we're not overreaching and disappointed. But there is also options at times to have commercial valuations done on these properties based on the valuation, the surveyor, all these types of factors that come into play. When you start getting into 7-bed HMOs, it's pretty much a green light, a given that you're going to get a commercial valuation. Commercial valuations, if you're not aware, far outweigh bricks and mortar standard valuations. You get much, much higher value on the property. Now, the property and area summary, 5-bedroom HMO in the upcoming area of Liverpool. It is outside of Article 4 zoning. Article 4 is just zoning that restricts HMOs in a certain city or town. It's 10-minute transit to Liverpool city centre. Huge capital appreciation, and property prices are £53,000 lower than the national average. Again, numbers, happy to run, these are all on the landing page, but happy to answer questions about these after. Not to bore you, so you're looking at all these figures, but I just do want to emphasize that we put everything in as far as we can see. A lot of sources will source deals. They won't include things like you need a build control officer if you're going to add en suites. You need to pay for a HMO license. You need to pay for planning to get your property converted from C3 to C4 status. There's all these things that go. You need to put furniture in your property when you're done so you can get tenants in. That's not cheap. So we chuck all of that in there. And your annual profit, £11,000 after expenses. And this is that's a map of Liverpool. You can see Greater Liverpool, map there, it is within that zone. It's quite close to the Liverpool town, or not town centre, city centre. Bonnie, am I right to keep carrying on?
I think what we'll do, Dean, is just if I can call in Robin just to see if there are anything that he'd like to ask. The ladies haven't asked any questions yet or raised their hand. So I'd just like to, if that's okay, before we go into the next property, if I can hand over to Robin. Obviously, Robin Martin is of the Mortgage Tailor. So I'll just do a quick intro because I have chatted to Robin before, and his clients trust him and the team to find them the right mortgage, and whatever is right for them. So this will go back to what you were saying, Dean, about really finding what suits the client and making sure that it works for the project in total. For Robin and his team, relationships are paramount, and they span decades with certain individuals, and there's a genuine interest in his clients' needs. And the way that I've described Robin, I actually said to him, to me, he's like someone's personal Mr. Motivator who helps keep their finances fit and healthy. So, Robin, have you got anything? I'm just going to hand over to you. Have you got anything that you'd like to talk about with regards to the deals that Dean has actually presented already?
I was thinking that it would probably be easier if I introduce myself first, perhaps. So everyone knows that Dean is a great sourcer, and behind every great sourcer is obviously a great loan deal, generally. So as you said, yeah, we're called the Mortgage Tailor. We've been in business for 20 years now. And there was a reason in the very beginning why I chose the name Tailor. Obviously, that's synonymous with getting something fitted to you individually. And because the UK has been through roughly 3 recessions in the last 20 years since I started in business, that's a good reason why we've always had to tailor business to people. So the issue we have is, like Dean has pointed out quite often today, that either it's the property that's the problem, or it's the value of the property that's the problem, or the location of the property that's the problem, or the location of the buyer, the individual investor. So there's many things that we've had to tailor, especially to individual international clients. And this has meant that we've always had to be on our game, as you say, and keep people physically and financially fit along the way. But when you mention that we've been doing this for decades, Bonnie, we do take our relationships very seriously, because we've got UK clients coming back after 20 years, bringing their children back. I know I don't look that old, but you know, they when they bring their kids back, or their cousins or their brothers and sisters, you know, that's when you think, well, we are doing our job properly, and we take a lot of pride in it. But that's because I think transparency in our industry is really, really key. So what I mean by transparency is, for example, when someone's asking you, oh, well, how did you arrive at that interest rate? How did you manage to talk to the bank about the length of the loan, and how many years will I be fixed? So there's lots of sort of detail that goes into it all, that people wonder, how do we get there and why? So we would rather be completely transparent with our customer and bring them along on that journey of finding a loan for that property they really, really want to add to their portfolio. So if I perhaps explain briefly, and this is where a lot of people might want to grab a pen and paper maybe, because if we go quite swiftly but surely through what is a financial broker going to do for you, how is that financial broker going to make sure you're fit and healthy with your finances for the next, who knows, 20 years? We never know what's around the corner, but you're obviously not buying property just for tomorrow. This is a long-term thing that you've decided to do as an investor. And I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm an investor as well. So, also for 20 years, I've been investing in property. And like Dean said, I think it's one of the most fun things to do with your savings, one of the most awesome things to watch grow. And over the years, you get some great tenants who stay in there almost forever, and you get a good rapport with them. So what does a broker do for you? This is the biggest question. For me, getting somebody I call it finance, because it could be a mortgage, it could be a loan, either way. Getting you a loan for me is like a journey, and I stick with my customer every step of the journey. And that journey for me, if you like, it's almost like ordering an Uber. And the Uber has a starting point and an end point, of course, an A to B. Now, along that journey, you're obviously going to have a lot of bumps on that ride. A lot of things could happen. A lot of accidents could happen. But either way, during your journey, I stick with my customer. If it takes 6 months to buy the property, I'm still there. If they lose the first property and they buy the third property, we're still there. And that's why, again, we just pride ourselves on being transparent about what the service is going to be like. So let's just say, for example, you've ordered your Uber on the app, it's 5 minutes around the corner, and you're already panicking because you're trying to get together your gloves, your hat, your scarf, your wallet, your mobile phone, and everything. So along the way, we find that as long as we explain to you all the different steps, as long as we try and prepare you for all of this journey, then you're going to enjoy it a lot more. And then you're going to do it a second time, a third time, and hopefully you choose us to help again. So in the very beginning, we would be talking with you with Dean. We would be assessing that property before you spend £400 or £500 surveying it. We're going to help you to understand if that property will get a loan or not. So even before we start working as a business together, we're saving you money because of our 20 years knowledge of property. So then we're going to access your paperwork. You'll send us a list of information that we want to present to the bank. And then we're going to start talking to the bank about the best deal they have available according to your situation. So we're just starting to tailor everything. Then we're going to deal with the bank's questions. We're going to deal with the surveyor's questions. We're going to be communicating with Dean. We're going to start communicating with your solicitor early on. And then we're going to, all the way along, we're now pushing the lender. We're now pushing the surveyor to survey the property. We're now discussing any issues that have come up on that survey. And all of this we're discussing with you, and we're informing you along the way and educating you, I guess, for the future as to, what's happening and what could we change, what could we improve. Now, the journey's come to the lender, and everyone is asking us, where's the money? Where's the offer? So we're still pushing the lender to offer what they promised in the beginning. So we want that offer to be sent to the solicitors. You will have a solicitor in your native country. You'll have a solicitor in the UK. These people will be emailing us, and we will be replying to them. We won't just say, oh, well, I'm not going to reply to that solicitor because it's nothing to do with me. We are trying to be a transparent middleman so that everything we've worked hard to do through the portal, through Dean, through anybody you're coming into contact with, it's much better if we all work on this wonderful kind of circle, if you like, and make sure that nothing goes by the by, nothing's missed out, so that you don't lose out on the property. So transparency for me is pretty important. And as I mentioned, yes, I've been a landlord for a very long time, and I could probably write a book if I had time, but I won't bore you with that one. So I've seen ups and downs, I've seen recessions, I've seen problem tenants, I've seen good tenants. I've seen properties that you won't get a mortgage on. I've seen properties that would be close to getting a mortgage on, and advised the person selling, maybe if they just put a sink in the kitchen, or if they just add something, then you can get a loan. So I think Dean and I will be talking about different types of loan to you in the next session. And so for now, I hope your pen and paper is full with the Uber journey we've just taken, because it's quite a long one. But otherwise, we do tend to want to be there every step. Well, back to you, Bonnie, if that's sufficient enough for everybody to understand.
No, that's brilliant, Robin. Thank you so much. And I think that's really important to highlight the depth of the journey from all angles. And you mentioned transparency and the importance of it. And I think that really takes us back to why the platform was created, so that there is a 360-degree transparency from all angles and aspects of whoever's involved, so that the all parties involved are really clear of what's going on, of what's happening, of what's about to happen, of what's scheduled to happen, of any intention that is here to be done, and then really complete that deal with as much ease as possible, because we want to make it as easy as possible. That was the whole reason for the platform, to take out the pain points. So I really do appreciate that when you talked about the transparency and even the journey. It's a very handheld journey that you do with your clients, Robin. You mentioned the banks, and I just want to, just so that we still have the ladies with us, I just want to ask if you're tethered to any banks, or if you're completely independent, then if you can just highlight that to the investors that will be watching this on replay, as well as those live with us now.
Yes, of course. When you set out in business to do what we do, you couldn't do it if you weren't independent. I mean, you know, I would say we're somewhat of a pioneer in this international market now. For 3 years, we've been looking for new banks and pushing the boundaries of their criteria. And what I mean by that, I don't mean to use any jargon today, because I know the property journey is difficult enough to follow. So I don't mean to try and be clever with jargon, but jargon's probably a bad enough word itself, isn't it? So I would say that when somebody is literally asking us why this, why that, and we're transparent about it, it's because we are not choosing a bank because it's better for us. We're not doing that. We're trying to choose the best bank for the deal. And like I said, you tailor it. So it's the property, the customer, the location, all of these things add up to a big picture. And we are literally painting a picture to these banks and saying, look, this is what the customer wants to do. The customer's really motivated. They're a first-time landlord, finding it quite difficult to get into the market, but the property has a great ROI thanks to the agent, and so on and so on. And so we paint a really good picture to the bank, because we know that this customer just really wants to get on and buy and start renting out and making money. So apart from that, I would certainly say that we have to be independent. But like I say, as a pioneer, we've been just trying to gather together a couple of extra banks really over the last 3 years that can start to offer international clients loans of as low as 4%. So, you know, that's when these figures that Dean is using on his charts, that's when these figures start to pop, because obviously the more money you make every month, the more money you make every year, the more money you have to put towards property 2, property 3. So we totally understand the journey because we've made it ourselves for many, many years. So yeah, that's why I would say you've got to be independent. And secondly, we've always got to be looking for more banks for our customers. And when we find a bank and we get them to push their criteria a little bit harder so that it would include an international client, I think that's the most exciting reward, really. You get a bit of buzz out of it. So we found a couple of those lenders the last couple of years who are willing to start working with the international community. And we're always looking for others. But remember, they're talking about a mini property recession. They're talking about rates going up. So at the moment, a lot of lenders are playing chicken. They don't want to offer something new and interesting. So at the minute, we're staying loyal to these few banks that will actually lend to international customers.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. That's really enlightening even. So you've brought a lot of light to that topic, because I think that it can be, we've mentioned this before, it can be murky and dark. And in that people get lost amongst it. So I think that's really key that you did mention it. And it's nice to hear, it's almost like you're the pioneers of getting the new banks onto your side. And that's a great interest rate, by the way, 4% for an overseas investor, because usually they sit from 6 to 7 and upwards. So that is really key. What I'm going to ask, so thank you for that, Robin. That's really very helpful. Ladies, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat box or the Q&A. Dean, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to come back to you if you don't mind, because just with regards to the refurbs, because there is, your price points, as I mentioned initially, your price points generally for purchase do sit at the £100,000 mark. I'm wondering whether the ladies think your refurbs. I know as an investor, if I didn't know you, I would look at that refurb when I started out as an investor and think, oh my God, 70,000, 50,000 for a refurb. We're not talking, a new kitchen and bathroom. What's going on here? So can you just explain for the live investors here and those that will watch on replay, what level of work that is involved in one of your refurbs, as an example, maybe this one that's 70,000 in the Liverpool property, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we began this as a business from Parada Property, we wanted to do it the right way. Now you will have, again, a lot of sources out there that will sell deals. They'll say, hey, HMO conversion, you can do a 15 grand refurb. Yeah, you can. But within a month of having tenants in the property, you're going to have the damp's going to start to come through. Your electricity is not going to work. Your boiler's going to break down, whatever it is. So the refurbs that we do full high spec refurbs for the property. So the investor in the long run does not have to worry about their property. They're not forking out, money for a new kitchen 2 years later or whatever it is because it's broken down and it's not working. So we include absolutely everything in the refurb. What that looks like, it's a complete, if it needs it, again, some of the properties don't, but a lot of the properties that you get for a low purchase price are not in a great state. So that includes a full, back to brick replastering throughout. It includes a new kitchen. You're also, guys, you're looking at HMO conversions. HMO conversions, they're not your standard buy-to-lets. With HMO conversions alone, you're looking at your fire regulations, where you have to put interlocked fire system throughout the house. You have to do fire doors. You have to have escape routes and things like that. They're expensive and they're not cheap to do. So when you're looking at 5 rooms, the cost for each of those to do each room works at around £2,500 to £3,000. Also, when we're maximizing the value of the property, when we're doing things like converting a kitchen to an additional bedroom, or maybe a large bathroom, we're going to convert to an additional bedroom to get more cash flow. You need to look at things like adding en-suites. Again, en-suites aren't cheap, but we want to get a long-term asset that is going to be safe, that is going to stay filled, that is going to be in high demand for tenants. Something as simple as an en-suite will achieve that, because if you're marketing an en-suite versus a non-en-suite, it's much more appealing for a potential tenant to have an en-suite property. But to put en-suites in every bedroom, it's not cheap to do. You're looking at between 3 to 3.5 grand to do that. It's a short-term pain. However, in the long term, again, you're going to have a higher cash producing property. You're going to have less void. You're going to have less maintenance issues. Other things that we've included in there are things like roof maintenance. Every, terrace house in Liverpool or Wigan or Bolton or Leeds that was built in the 1900s is going to need some maintenance work. So we will put things in there as contingency. Roof maintenance, new gutters if it needs it. Again, this is all based on the inspection that we do on the property. New gutters if it needs it. Decoration, new carpet, flooring throughout. Essentially, in short, we're going to give an asset, a property that for the next 10 years, you're not going to have to worry about. Of course, this isn't the case. We don't just say, hey, we need a new kitchen there when we don't, when the kitchen's fine. But a lot of the times we do need new kitchens for these older properties. There's also other things like it. If we're talking about a 5-bedroom HMO, but it's a 2-bedroom terraced house, how are you going to make that happen? Well, you might have to knock through a structural wall. You might have to remove a structural wall. You might have to take out the chimney breasts so that the property, so that the room size meets regulation and needs to be at least 6.51 square meters. If that is something that we have to do, then we will budget that in. Again, to take out something like a chimney breast or to remove or knock through a structural wall, that's not cheap to do because you have to reinforce it with steel. But instead of a 4-bed, you get a 5-bed. So there's a trade-off there. And in our opinion, I think it's more genuine to do a full high-spec refurb as well. We have a contingency in there in case anything goes wrong. So that's what you're looking at. Yes, you are looking at a bigger refurb, but your cash flow, your cash flow is going to be much higher. Your voids are much less. You're going to get a higher valuation should you ever wish to sell. All these things come into play to give you a better asset. But we are more than happy to work with the investor, Bonnie, on these things as well. Should they not want to go for certain layouts or should they not want to, whatever it is, we're happy to work with the investor, but we will stack up the deal and the refurb as we see best practice.
Okay, that's great. And I think the first thing you mentioned was back to brick. And I think that's important to actually realize that that's a lot of work when you take anything back to brick and start again. It's like starting from afresh. So that is extensive work. And then with regards to HMO, for the ladies that are present, anyone watching later on the replay, there are certain regulations, and you mentioned room sizes. So if it's a general buy-to-let, you could have the tiniest box room and class it as a bedroom, but on a HMO, we just simply can't do that. It has to be identified as either a single or a double room, right? So when we rent it out, we have to stipulate what that is, and the HMO officer will actually set out the regulations as to what we can identify that room with. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to, each council as well, each local authority has different regulations and guidelines that you have to follow. A communal space, for example, somewhere in Bolton for a 5-bedroom HMO is 12.5 meters squared. You go to Leeds, that jumps up to 20 meters squared. So you need to be able to factor these into the refurb cost as well. Correct.
That's fantastic, and it's good that you know your figures, because as a general rule of thumb, there is, I think if I remember correctly, it's 10.1 or something like that, 10.5 for a double bedroom. But as you mentioned, each council has their own. They don't necessarily have to go by the general standard. They can increase those room sizes. Very rarely do they make them smaller.
Oh, exactly.
if at all.
6.5 is probably small enough anyway, to be honest.
Exactly, for a single room. The other thing that I want to just highlight there, Dean, with the extensive renovation work is if there are any investors worried about or concerned about how their money will be spent with regards to the renovation, we do, on Sourcing Investments, have the Renovation Escrow, which is where the investor agrees with yourselves what's involved in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so on and so forth, the time frame on that, the level of work, and also, as you mentioned, the spec included. And so with the renovation escrow, once those have been completed and the videos or pictures have been provided, that gets signed off. The renovation escrow then gives the sourcing agent the money so that nothing is in dispute, so to speak. Do you find that is a good, useful tool?
The renovation escrow, yeah, I think so. I think it the investor needs to be comfortable with the refurb before they can commit. And of course, everything will have to be signed off and approved before we go and begin the renovation. But the escrow just adds, an added level of security to that, I feel.
Perfect. And I'm just going to come back to Robin with regards to what Dean was mentioning beforehand with respect to the refurb. It's important, is it not, for the investor to really understand what they're buying, so that when they come to you and give you the information, that the information is actually accurate to what the deal is, so that you can provide the best product to suit their needs.
Yeah, Bonnie, this is why we really revel in working together as a team. So if Dean came to me with a customer, or I came to Dean with a customer, it's about the teamwork. It's about finding something that you will actually get finance on. There is no point talking to somebody about a property that is derelict and promising everything to somebody and nothing comes of it. It's the opposite of transparency, isn't it? And I'll just applaud Dean in one of the things he said there. Well, in many of the things, but in one of the main things, if there's a small job during a refurb that costs an extra £200, you say, yes, Dean, do it, because once the house is full of tenants, you'll never have, fingers crossed, a completely empty house to go in and renovate the whole thing ever again, fingers crossed, if it's the right location. So if you're going to do a proper refurb when it's empty and there's no tenants in the way, health and safety, etc., then you get it done, and you get it done properly. And these days, compared to 40 years ago, when, say, the kitchen was done, or some of the refurbishments was done, or the garden or something, 40 years on, we've got access to a lot more different materials now. Robust kitchens that you can knock about, kitchens and bathrooms that you know what I mean, you put in now, they will last a long time, fingers crossed. So like I say, if somebody says to you, oh, the renovation is going to cost another £1,000, but if it's going to cost you in the future 3,000 to do it because you've got to empty 3 rooms or something crazy, then you just say yes, do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really important key factor that you've mentioned there, and that's why we really love working with Dean on the platform, because although the renovations are extensive, it's the quality of work that goes in, the quality of the product. And as you've just rightly mentioned there, Robin, it's better to pay the £1,000 there than in a few years' time have to pay £3,000, because you need to empty the rooms, you're going to experience the voids, and the impact of that as well that will have on your investment is untold. So I think that's why it's important to just have mentioned the renovation. And I think it's key that you're talking about working as a team. We're not silos here working on our own. We are very much part of an extensive team that transcends our own little businesses and really connects into one another's. Thank you for that, Robin, really appreciate it. Dean, I'm going to hand it back over to you to present the rest of your deals that you have here for those that are here live and those that will watch on replay.
Cool, let's get straight into it then. So we thank you as well, Robin. Loved your part and your input on the mortgages and that type of thing. That insight was very helpful. But let's get straight into it, guys. Again, questions, if you've got them, fire away. If you're happy to just sit and watch, absolutely fine. But I am quite a relational person, so I would like to answer some questions if we have them. But let's jump in. So we're jumping over to Salford now. We are in Manchester as well. Salford, really good area. It's had gentrification done in the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of it. It was a traditional, blue collar town like a lot of the north of England in Manchester. Salford now, you've got the BBC in there. You've got Mediacom, you've got Google, you've got, I think it's the biggest university city in Europe, or definitely in the top 2. That's Manchester, but Salford's a big part of that, just near Manchester. Salford Quays, massive business district. So Salford, in terms of capital appreciation in the area, is significant. The purchase price on this one, it's a straightforward 2-bedroom terrace. It's a buy-to-let. It does have the opportunity as a BRR, but we'll stack it up. We'll advertise it as a buy-to-let because it's pretty straightforward. You are looking at a purchase price of $165,000. You are looking at a refinance of this property, conservative again, $185,000, a refurb of $7,500 just to take care of a few things, spruce it up. Now your yield is 8%, your ROI is 6%, your cash flow is 10,080, just over. Now this is it's a more, people have different risk tolerance for investments. Not everybody wants to jump into a 4-bedroom HMO. Some people just want to get a buy-to-let in a good area that they know is going to pay them in the long term. This is that type of deal. The cash flow on this property is based on the fact that this property is currently on a corporate let. It currently has 3 tenants in there being paid by a company that works with local authorities. So you've got really, really good rent. Now, what that says as well about the property is, okay, I'll backtrack a bit. Salford itself, Salford City, is in an Article 4 area. Now, Article 4 is zoning that the council puts in place to say, hey, no more HMOs in here, there's enough. Salford City has Article 4 in there. However, this property situated within Article 4 and is shared between 3 different people. So the council will allow, at times they will allow exceptions, and they'll allow house shares or HMOs within an Article 4 zone. So if they can allow 3 bedrooms, then there's a very good chance that they will allow 4 bedrooms, and you'll be able to do a 4-bedroom HMO. If they allow 4 bedrooms, then there's a good chance that they might allow 5 bedrooms. So if you wanted to do those types of things with these properties, you can. It's just the initial getting a house share status in an Article 4 zone is tough, but that's already been done. As we can see, it's on a corporate lease. There's three people living in this, and there's a combined rent of $1,050 per month. Regardless, if you want to keep it as is, and you don't want to change anything, it's a steady, safe investment. Now, these are the prices we're looking at. We've kept it the same for argument's sake, 165,000, and all your numbers, which we can talk about. And this is just where we're looking. So it's literally borders Manchester city centre. There's universities around there. You can't see there's hospital. There's a lot of industry in that type of area. Manchester's great, guys. If you're not aware of what's going on in Manchester, there's a bunch of strategies going on. There's the HS2 train line. Listen, in short, London's very expensive. A lot of businesses are moving north. A lot of people are moving north. There's a train line that's going in. You're probably already aware of it. That's going to make travel a lot quicker. And there's a lot of initiatives in Manchester City to grow the city, and a lot of business moving there. So it's a really good time to get in. Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, those 3 areas are really, really good at this point in time. So now we're moving over to Bolton. We've spoken a lot about Bolton. We showed you some example deals at the start and the kind of figures that you can make in Bolton. Now, Bolton itself, what's so good about it? It's got a £1 billion regeneration master plan. It's got a huge bunch of international development. You'll go into Bolton now, there's just cranes and, structures going up everywhere because of the master plan that's going on. It's the UK's largest town. So it's not a city officially, it's the UK's largest town, and it's got 28.8 expected capital growth by 2025. In the last couple of years that we've worked in Bolton, we've seen, we've been priced out of deals because of the prices that have just gone up in the area. So if you're looking for an up and coming area that is going to, be a safe investment into the future, Bolton is your town. So this one, Bonnie, is the live deal. So there has been a little bit of information that's come back since we first uploaded this deal as a 5-bedroom HMO, but it actually suits a lot better to a 6-bedroom HMO. So the purchase price on this one is 95,000 approximately. Again, because what's happened, just a bit of a background on this property. This has had a valuation done. The valuation has come back saying, hey, it's only worth between 70 to 75,000 max. The reason for that, because this is, you know, unheard of in this area, the reason for that is because it's got quite a low EICR rating, electrical report's not great, and it's situated between two shops. But the area itself, the property itself, there's nothing wrong with it. And the area itself is great and perfect for a HMO. So we had a valuation done on the property. Now, the refinance of this property, the GDV end value, whatever you want to call it, once the works have been done to convert it to a 6-bedroom HMO, is going to be 200,000 plus. Now, to show that we're not just making numbers up, we've added a valuation report here that we've done on the property. So you can see in the actual report, GDV equals £200,000 plus. That's after the conversion to a 6-bedroom HMO. The refurb on it, it's 84,000. We need to do some significant works. Not that the property's got structural issues or anything like that, but we need to add another space, whether it's a loft, whether it's a cellar conversion or extension to the back to add that 6-bedroom. But you'll see that's been budgeted into the refurb quite significantly. The yield 31%. The return on investment, 31%, your cash flow just under 15,000 per month. Now, the property and area summary. What is the hype around Bolton? We just spoke about that. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of reasons to get excited. This property itself, it's located in a 5-minute drive from major hospitals, from Amazon factory, from some really, really good points of employment. It's located within walking distance. It's in the southern end of Bolton. It's actually in a place called Farnworth. That's got, away from the Bolton investment itself, it's got it's 150 or 250 million pounds worth of investment just in that town centre, that little area of Bolton itself, excluding the 1 billion that's already going into the main part. So this is a great area. Top Street, the property that we bought at Parata Property, is actually right around the corner. It's a 1-minute drive from this property. So we believe in the area quite a lot, that we actually invest there ourselves. Cash purchase is obviously preferable due to valuation. Robin might be able to touch on situations like this when he talks again, but your cash purchase is obviously preferable, and you're refinancing at 200,000 plus. Now, again, your numbers, we can talk about those in a second.
Dean, can I just quickly come in there and just ask, with regards to the relevance of that, why is it cash purchase?
So the reason for the cash purchase is because you're going to get a mortgage, and there's going to be a shortfall on the mortgage because the bank's only going to value the property again, and Robin will be able to go into more detail about this, but the bank is going to value it based on it being £75,000 as opposed to what the vendor is willing to accept of £95,000. So you're going to have to cover fees, you're going to have interest rates and those things. So if you were to just go in all in cash, essentially what you want to do is just be able to get to the end of the refurb where you can get your GDV and then refinance it on that valuation. It doesn't have to be cash purchase. You'd have options like bridging as well that work really well in these situations. But essentially you're going to have a gap that you're going to have to cover from what the vendor wants to actually achieve from the property to what the actual value has come back at.
Okay, brilliant. I'm just going to hand over and just call in Robin into that for that with regards to, because I do think, Robin, you do bridging finance, don't you? I think for properties that are maybe not mortgageable.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we offer all manner of finance, really. And like I say, come back to that tailoring aspect. I don't want to bore people, but the whole tailoring aspect is a reality. You know, when Dean comes up with a great property, if you've got the cash, if you've got the investment up front, then that's kind of an awesome way to get into property. If you're cash rich in the start, then you can buy properties that really need doing up. But if you don't want to throw all your cash into it, you might want to get 2 projects at the same time. That's how obviously you make your money work even harder. So if we're talking about some kind of bridge in the beginning, and bridges are great for 6 months, 12 months, you choose. And the cool thing about deciding on a bridge for, say, 8 months, if the project's done in 6 and we line up the refinancing in month 5, so the refinancing is ready in month 6, you might say, hang on a minute, I've got 2 months left on the bridge. Well, they'll refund you 2 months interest on the bridge. So again, it's all very transparent. There's nothing's going to get lost in the mix here. If you're due money back, you're due money back. But yeah, that's a great stepping stone.
Thank you for that. And I think that's really key that you mentioned that about the refund, because as a contingency, I prefer to overestimate. So I have that contingency there and give myself a little bit extra time if I were to get myself involved in a refurb project, so that rather than trying to squeeze as much time out of a project as possible and estimate it as 6 and it actually taking 9 and having to incur the fees of an extension. Is that right?
Correct, for 2 reasons. You can't refinance a property until you've had it 6 months anyway. That's a kind of unwritten UK law. It stops people kind of coming across property that they buy unscrupulously off, say, old people who don't know what they're doing, and then they get it cheap, and then they just refinance it and pull a lot of profit out. So they've taken that excitement away from swindling old people, perhaps, by saying you've got to hold on to it for 6 months, and then you can refinance. So if Dean quotes 6 months to refurb a property, well, that's perfect, because we'll get the refinance ready in month 5, ready to be put into place in month 6, 6.5 anyway, once the property's been owned that legal length of time or 6 months.
Brilliant, thank you. And just as a contingency, if I was to be involved, say I was to purchase something from Dean and I came to you and said, the project's going to take 7 to 8 months, would you recommend that I take the contingency for maybe a 9-month project, just in case, especially if we're going to do this project through British weather's winter period?
Yeah.
Would it be better to take out that bridging loan for a 9-month period rather than really cutting it fine to the deadline?
Yeah, I totally agree. What we tend to advise people is, if you can imagine, let's do a 9-month, because then, like you say, you don't know what's going to happen. There's so many factors in play over a long period of time, like 6 months. And as I alluded to earlier, you will actually get your interest back if you pay off your bridge early. Because on bridging finance, just so that people understand, in the beginning, say you want 100,000, but the interest on top is an extra, say, 7,000 plus fees of 4,000. So you're borrowing 111. And then let's say you're all done in 6 months, not 9 months. Like I said, you'll get interest back, because that was taken from the initial capital in the beginning. They take that, the bridging company take their fees and interest off the money you're going to borrow in the very beginning. So they're paid. You're not paying out every month to the lender. You're just focusing on your build. And then if you build early, that's why you would get a refund of interest, because it was all taken at the start. So yeah, a contingency for extra months is perfect.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, Dean, I'll hand you back over to you with regard. I thought that was just really important that we cover those parts.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. That was great. Bridging, we like to call it a necessary evil, because your interest rates are higher, but it gets you in the deal. If the deal's good, it is a very, very necessary evil. So moving along from this one, we are back into Wigan. We've got a BRR. I presented four deals which I had lined up, but Bonnie, are you happy for me to just continue on?
Yes, I believe these are 2 more live deals. Is that correct, Dean? That are not
Yes.
on the platform yet?
No, I don't believe they're on the platform yet. Yeah.
Sorry, that's fine. I have actually dropped in to the chat box your URL so that the ladies can contact you, or any other investors can contact you directly via the platform to request any more information on this, because it's not on the platform just yet.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's shoot on. We'll go ahead. So this is a BRR. We're back in Wigan. Actually, if we stayed in Wigan, no, we're in Bolton. So we're back in Wigan, just around the corner. It's a BRR, which stands for, if you're not aware, I'm sure you are aware, buy, refurbish, refinance. So you want to get in, you want to add value to a property, and then you want to increase the value, refinance, pull your money out. This is a great strategy and a really popular one in the UK. So this is a 2-bed BRR in Wigan. Your purchase price, you're looking at 80,000. Your refinance on this one is going to be 120,000. Your refurb, again, you can see here, guys, this is just a standard buy-to-let property. It's not a HMO. So your refurb is much less, because you're not having to pay for things like fire regulations, en suites, the whole shebang. So this is what you're looking at for generally a 2-bed terrace, depending on the standard. New kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring and paint throughout. 23,625. Your yield is 10%. Your ROI is 19%. Your cash flow is 3,780. So real steady, real safe investment, where you're going to be able to pull some of your money out of the deal. Your BRR in one of Manchester's fastest growing towns. Again, this has the option. I love the HMO strategy, so I always try and fit that as an option in where I can. It has the option to be used as a 3-bedroom HMO should you wish to do that. High potential for corporate leases in this area, which we've spoken about. Easy strategy for first-time investor. It's a really good stepping stone to get your foot in the door in the UK property market, and there is great demand, guys, for housing in the area. Numbers, again, we'll just skip past this, but it's all what we've spoken about. And then you are looking at, again, we're in Wigan Town Centre. So you're looking at Wigan. Cool. Next deal, we're in Wigan again. This is a HMO. This is a 5-bed. So similar to what we presented before, we've got a 5-bedroom HMO in Wigan. Your purchase price, you're looking at 105,000. Your refinance, very similar to the other deals, conservatively 130,000. Quite an extensive refurb, because we want to do everything, but you're still looking at really high returns, 24% return on investment with everything. Cash flow you're just under £20,000 per annum after expenses. So 5-bedroom HMO with potential option for guaranteed rent, extremely close to a major hospital. Now, when you're looking for property HMOs, you need to be well positioned. You need to be close to a town centre for one, or major industry or major employers. Now, hospitals are always great kind of pins on the map to look for HMOs around there. The reason being is that the NHS employ tens of thousands of people, or probably hundreds of thousands across the UK. Now, with a lot of their medical professionals, what they do once they come out of the university, they'll say a graduate from somewhere in London comes out of university, they'll say, you're going to work in Cambridge for 6 months at the hospital in Cambridge. They don't actually get to choose their locations. They might have a choice between a couple of options, but they will get allocated to where the demand is. So in terms of HMOs, that works really well, because our property HMOs are perfect for short-term, 6 month to 12-month contracts, people coming into work for a period of time. So next to a hospital, you're going to have a constant supply of tenants. And if you're doing properties that are high spec, that are well done, that are well presented, that have good furnishings, this is going to attract your higher end tenant, like your medical professionals who are earning good money and want to live in good accommodation. So they're things to really look out for. So extremely close to a major hospital. Tenant target will be medical professionals, or we got the corporate lease option, conservative end value figure, as we've spoken about. But this one also has a potential option for 6-bed, And then potential option for commercial valuations. Always, if you want to go down this strategy, I would always recommend getting a valuation done before you buy the property, so you're not crossing your fingers hoping you get a good valuation when they might come back and say, no, we're just going to value it based on, you know, comparables in the area that aren't producing anything like the amount of cash these ones will. So always do your due diligence. Numbers 105, 130. So you've got your refurbishment numbers there, you've got your stamp duty, everything added in there. Solicitors fees, mortgage brokers fees. These are just generic numbers. I'm not sure about Martin's numbers, Robin's numbers, but Robin's very good at what he does. So even if they're a little bit more, they're worth it. Your investment needed, or your licensing and things like that. So your 19% ROI and your 24% gross yield. Now we're in Leeds. Bonnie, we got a last deal. Have we got time for that?
Yeah, this is the last one.
This is the last one.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I think it's the last one.
It needs to be the last one.
I've got yours coming out my ears. No, this property sourcing moves fast. I struggle to keep up sometimes. So why Leeds? Leeds is a great area. We spoke about it before. 21% projected economic growth by 2032. I'm mumbling my words because I'm talking too much. Student population of over 60,000. And again, a master plan going on in Leeds, a lot of gentrification in Leeds. They want to double the city centre, a lot of tech, a lot of professionals. So universities, essentially, Leeds, is essentially a university city. Now, when a lot of students will move up from the south to Leeds, they will stay there and they will use their skills that they've acquired from their degrees or their training to actually contribute back to Leeds. So Leeds has the second biggest, it's the second biggest financial district in the UK after London, and it's precisely because of that. So there's a lot of professionals in the area, a lot of really highly skilled workers. So Leeds is doubling its town centre, and property prices again are going up. So this is a very straightforward 4-bedroom HMO. Purchase price 85,000. You got to refinance after your refurb work's done of 120. Your refurbs there at 65. You're looking at a yield of 25, a return on investment on 13. Your cash flow is just over 10,000. Now this property here, it is cash buyers only, and it's really close to Leeds city centre. So it is in a prime position to achieve some great increase in the property value over time. There also is the option, should you wish to do it, for a BRR strategy and not a HMO. Now, the last point there, guys, is outside of extensive Article 4 zoning. So we spoke a bit about Article 4. This is an example, and then this is straight off the Leeds Council website. This is the map that they provide. It's not the greatest map, but this is what Article 4 will look like in an area. So these red lines, within the red lines, you cannot no longer do HMOs. You have to go through planning to do that. They may or they may not approve it. There's no guarantee. So we always recommend steering clear of Article 4. However, outside where this property is located, outside of Article 4, it is permitted planning for you to do a HMO up to 6 bedrooms. When you get to 7 bedrooms and above, you need to go through planning. But as long as you abide by council regulations, and as long as you have a HMO license, you can have up to 6 beds, up to 6 bedrooms as a HMO outside of Article 4 areas anywhere across the UK. So this is a little bit what Article 4 looks like. If you have more questions about this, feel free to get in touch, and I can help a little bit more. And this is just a city map of Leeds. We're just on the southern end here of Leeds, near Hunslet, not far from there. Corporate leases, I wanted to touch on that a little bit, Bonnie, before we finished up. But I think we've spoke about them quite a bit, but I just want to give a brief summary. Guys, there is a shortage of housing in the UK. There's a growing population, and there's a lot of people that are in need of accommodation, whether that's housing association, whether that's refugees, whether that's emergency housing, whatever it is, there's a lot of people that need accommodation. Now, local authorities partner often with companies to take care of this demand. and they are screaming out for property. Now, if you're paid by the council, which you will be on a corporate lease, you'll be paid by a company that's paid by the council. You are getting market value, and you are getting a really, really, really good money for your property. It's pretty much there's a saying in the UK, the best tenant that you can have is the council, because they'll look after your property, they'll pay you, the market value for it, and they will, if they get your property 9 times out of 10, they're not going to want to give it back. So corporate leases is a strategy we've really zoomed in on lately, because it's such a good strategy to really earn money and not have to worry about the stress of, well, it's not stressful if you do it the right way, but it can be an additional, risk of having voids within your HMO. So corporate leases are really, really good strategy, and we've got access to a lot of them. So I recommend looking at that and exploring that further if you are wanting to go down the HMO route. And that's me. So that's my Instagram handle there. That is contact number, but please come through the portal where all the deals will be uploaded, and have a look on the Instagram, and you can see what we're doing. We've got a lot of jobs going on at the moment. We've got constant work, and feel free to get in touch through the platform. But we've got a question here, Bonnie. Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just about to read that out. So just so that those watching on replay can understand what this question is. So Vicky, thank you for that. Vicky's asking, Dean, do you work with the Supported Living Gateway for the corporate lease strategy? And she's actually from Tasmania. Hi from Tasmania.
Another Australian. Hey, Vicky. G'day, Vicky. How are you? No, I haven't heard of the Supporting Living Gateway. Are they a type of housing association group, or how does that work? What we work with, so in summary, we work very closely with the company that works with local authorities. So whether that's Wigan, Bolton, Manchester General, all over kind of north of UK, and they work with various types of tenants. So the local authority, say Salford Local Council, will say, we need 100. Well, Wigan, for example, this is an accurate example. They say we need 100 rooms and we need them today. So the company will go out and find those rooms. Now, the tenant type is all different. It might be, as I said, refugees, emergency housing association. It might be women escaping domestic violence. It might be, homeless, whatever it is. They will just need housing for them. On that though, it's contractual in the corporate leases that they will have to provide the property and give it back in the same condition that they receive the property. So you don't have to worry about the tenant type, because you'll have there, Vicky, in the contract that your property is, essentially safe from any damage that might be done to the property.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, Dean. One of my first clients did. I mean, in the UK, you hear a lot of guaranteed rent, but she was actually backed by the government, so it was guaranteed. Her client was the council, as you were saying. So even if you don't get the fair market value for the rental, and you are given LHA, which is local housing authorities rates, there's still such a value in that, because, as you mentioned, they don't want to let you have that property back because they're in such dire needs of it. And you do have to maintain that property as well. The other thing is that it prevents the voids, because even if there's no tenant in there, the council is still paying for that. So it really does eliminate a lot of risk with regards to that. So that is something to look at. Sometimes I think it's important to see where that would really facilitate your strategy. And it's about really, Vicky, having the strategy that works for you and having a short-term and a long-term strategy as well. Vicky's just put, good day, Dean, perfect, works in a very similar way. Check out the Supported Living Gateway as well, as it could really be useful to you guys. Thank you for that, Vicky. Really appreciate that. I'll have a look at that myself.
Thank you. Write that down.
Robin, have you got anything to add there? Because I think, have you got any tips for the investors to consider for when they're looking for or contemplating potential lending?
Yeah, I would say get in contact as soon as possible. What we like to do is try and save people weeks, if not months, on the purchase journey. Because, everyone thinks, well, it'll just take, say, 3 or 4 weeks to get the finance. The solicitors will do their job in 3 or 4 weeks. I have never seen an international deal happen within 4 weeks before. Not because we're rubbish, but because there's so many moving parts. And like I said, when you're on that Uber journey, there are lots of bumps in the ride. And we want to try and eliminate those as early as possible. So, for example, when somebody is thinking, well, this year I will buy something, the best thing you can do is get in contact with us and say, right, we will gather some very basic information to start with. Who they are, where they live, things like, what do you do for a living? How do we prove your income from that country to England? How what is it we're going to be talking to a lender about, and painting a picture of this investor? So especially deposits, with international money laundering getting tighter and tighter all the time, we have to explain where the deposit's coming from. So that's just mentioning 2 or 3 things for people to really, really understand why are we going to be so anal and ask for loads of stuff in the beginning, because we just want that Uber journey to be really smooth for you, because it's not going to be. I'm not going to promise anything that's not going to happen, might not happen. So so by all means, get in contact as soon as possible, because we just want to start lining up the dominoes, if you like, so that when Dean says, here's that property, and you view it, you put an offer on it, everything's moving swiftly on that side of things, then suddenly we would say, fine, well, we've got half your information. We know what you're about, your UK accountants, your limited company reference numbers, everything. So yeah, we would be in a much better position to help them get moving quite swiftly.
Thank you for that. And I think, Robin, that's really important to mention, is that the anti-money laundering regulations are getting tighter and tighter and tighter, which is understandable. And the property industry is probably one of the easiest ways to launder money through, and you can understand why those regulations are getting more strict. So there are things whereby it is a case of we have to prove source of funds. It's not really wanting to know how much money the investor has at all. It hasn't anything to do with that at all. It's really to really make sure that the source of funds is clean and clear. And so that's really important when they start to engage and understand that it's not, we're not trying to find out, be nosy neighbours across the fence. It is actually a real necessity of our role. So I think that, and thank you for mentioning that, because it is, I remember when I started out, investors didn't really acknowledge that as an agent, that was something that we had to do within our realm as well, because they understand a bit more that a solicitor or even a mortgage advisor has to do it. But from a sourcing agent's perspective, they don't really understand that that is part of our role as well. And we are governed by HMRC more than anything. So they are a supervisory body.
Yeah, there's also obviously blacklisted countries. So
correct.
We have a list of countries where clients come from, and some of them will actually literally be blacklisted, and some of them will ask for more information, and some of them will be quite light touch. So, Hong Kong, Australia, these are obviously great countries. So for money, not for money laundering, but with the anti-money laundering in place from their banks to our banks. So it's not murky like if you're sending money from Afghanistan or something like that.
Correct.
In fact, you can't. So anyway, you know where I'm coming from.
I do.
Different degrees of money laundering, and we like to explain to people about that in the beginning as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Dean, I'm just going to come back to you with regards to, because obviously I think Robin's mentioned there, when an investor starts out in their journey, just to understand that there are rules and regulations that we have to abide by. Is there anything that you would maybe say to a sourcing agent who is starting out of in this industry, what they would need, what they would benefit from, and maybe would Sourcing Investments platform help them in regards to their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to, first of all, you need to become compliant as a sourcing agent to be a sourcing agent in the UK. Now, the platform, this isn't a plug, but the platform is actually really helpful. That has all the compliance information there. So you can just kind of jump on that and follow the links, and it's quite easy to do. So that's it really. From a legal point of view, you need to be compliant. You need to have a company bank account. You need to have a client account as a company or a business bank account, so you can send refunds. Yeah, there's a few bits and pieces, but the first bit is just getting compliant.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And I remember that's so key, because I remember networking when I first had my company, and some people who claimed to be sourcing agents didn't even have anti-money laundering, or didn't even know what anti-money laundering was, or that they were governed by the Estate Agency Act. So it's important for investors to be able to ask these questions, ask them openly. If the agent, obviously on the platform, we have all those compliances and registrations taken care of. We actually make sure that they are fully compliant in order to even engage into the platform itself. When you're encountering or interacting with agents outside of the platform, it's important to know really what you need these agents to have in play, so that you really protect yourself and your investments.
Yeah, Bonnie, it's so common for dodgy agents to take a sourcing fee and disappear. You really need to know who you're working with, and the platform does vet all the agents. So, the agent doesn't even get paid initially anyway. So there's a level of protection there from the investor to the sourcing agent on the platform.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that you mentioned that, Dean, because I remember, and I'm not sure if this will happen to you in your journey, but when I first started out, I heard horror stories on both sides. Investors giving money to agents, agents disappearing, agents doing the work, investors not paying. And so I think the platform really does allow a level of safety and security and peace of mind with regards to those monies being paid and received.
Yep, absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, gentlemen, is there anything else that you would like to add? I have no more questions from Vicky and none from Julie. I do thank you both for attending live. Look forward to the other questions that will come in later on from those that watch the replay. Gentlemen, is there anything else you would like to add? Dean, you first. Anything else? I can see that you've got a little green highlight around your window.
Have I? No, I think everything's been answered. Just if there's any questions, ladies, feel free to ask them. But other than that, I think there is one that's just popped up. Vicky, thanks so much, everyone. Really interesting. And I watch a replay with my husband and be in touch. Really appreciate all your input and information. So I'll let Robin jump on. But just from me, Vicky, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sitting through it. And I hope it's been helpful. And we'd look forward to hearing from you. And Julie is going to have a look at the deals later. Thank you. That's fine, Julie. Thank you for jumping in as well. But no, that's all from me, Robin.
On a practical point, people want to know that you're going to get on with their deal and it's not going to languish and sit on their desk. We have good office support, so I'm only ever 1 or 2 days away from making sure a customer's application is going to go to the bank. So we try and keep up with stuff all the time and work extra hours if we need to. So at the end of the day, if people entrust us with their business, then we thank them for that and we get moving with it. We just don't leave it lying around.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Dean, if you could kindly unshare your screen. I'm just going to show the ladies how to actually get to both of you via the platform, if that's okay. Let me just... my tech issues, my tech ability, should I say. Here we go. So ladies, this is actually Parata Property on the platform. So if you want to contact Dean, you have the live chat button here. Just to let you know, it's not that Dean will pop up and chat to you instantly. It is that it will give him an email alert, and so that he can contact you that way. And also, Dean, you're going to get a live chat convo. It'll take you to the conversation area. So it will explain to you that you will be now directed to the direct conversation. If you proceed, you would click this, and then that will allow you to engage in a conversation with Dean and Parata Property. So you can see here, I've already engaged with Dean here, and so it lets you know that you're in a direct conversation. With regards to the mortgage tailor and getting in contact with Robin, you would find Robin and the mortgage tailor if you go to Power Team here on the left hand side of your dashboard, or you can use the widget here. You can see here is Robin's company. You would click more. And bear with my internet connection. And then again, you have a lovely picture here of Robin, and then you have the live chat button. And once again, it's not that Robin would pop up at any time of the day, but it will send him an email alert. So you would engage in the direct conversation, press proceed if you wish to continue. And again, that will allow you to have that direct conversation here with Robin. So I hope that does help all of you understand how to get to both of these very valuable individuals within our eco site, if you like to call it that. And I would love to thank both of you, Robin and Dean, for attending the Deal Clinic Live. I do think it's time for a coffee here in the UK anyway. I thank you both for attending and for the valuable information that you've parted for all the investors that will watch this, for the ladies present now and all the investors that will watch this on the replay. So I'd like to wish you all a good day. Thank you, Vicky and Julie, for attending. Very, very grateful. And all of those that will watch. I do need to sort my teeth out. All of those of you that will watch on the replay, I thank you for that. And any questions, as I mentioned, please do email us at admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk. And with that, I wish you all a fantastic rest of March. Thank you so much. Take care now. Bye-bye. Bye.